Hello, hello,
Hey,
hello.
Felix, how's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm in the Ledger dungeon today. Not donjon, but dungeon. How are you?
Not bad, not bad.
Uh,
All good. How's the office today?
it's good. It's good. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there are strikes happening at the moment, and so yeah, there's some very large piles of rubbish everywhere.
Okay,
But you
Felix,
know,
how's it going, man?
aside from that, all good, good. I think maybe I'll just start with the normal things that I'd mentioned.
All
We'll
good.
be just going through
How's the
all
office?
your questions today, so please pop that into the chat. And also, I think every time, please don't give out 24 words. Don't sign any transactions you don't trust. And that'll probably be it. And then we can get started answering questions.
Absolutely. Go for it. Let's go.
So first one, yeah, Jason Peters. You've mentioned here you're trying to download XTC Wallet to the Ledger Nano. So I'm assuming you mean the application here. And you're getting an error message. The last month that I know of, will this be fixed and when? So I think the first thing I'd be double checking is what the specific error message you're getting is. That'll be the first primary thing that would be of concern. Generally speaking, depending on what wallet you've sent sent XTC to, or that you're trying to manage it for, you could potentially manage the asset with manage XTC with a EVM wallet like my Ethereum wallet or my crypto or something like that. So there's potentially a couple of things that might be the issue there. But yeah, first thing I'd be mentioning is what the error message would be specifically, because it could be like space related, if the device is locked, a bunch of things like that in particular at all.
Okay. Sorry, that was the question from Jason, right? Or was it from Gary?
That's from Jason in
From
particular. That's
Jason.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
Jason.
great. Okay, so next we had Gary Guevara. He's lost 388 when he sent from Coinbase to the Nano X. The transaction shows complete, but the total amount I have opened a ticket, but no response yet. Gary, if you have a ticket number, please drop it in the chat so we can take a look at what happened. It's possible that the coins are in the wallet, but there is some sync issue. There are currently some sync issues with Cardano wallets, so it might be that the coins are there, but Ledger is not able to see the balance, so that's probably what happened. Sometimes, an exchange might also botch the withdrawal, so the coins might still be on Coinbase, but my intuition here tells me that it's probably the sync issue. So again, yeah, if you have a ticket number, please drop it in the chat so we can take a look at the ticket.
Yeah, I think being that he has the transaction ID is probably the biggest thing that we can use to kind of follow that along, right? So yeah, once we get that, we'll be able to have a chat with you. Sorry about the delay, of course, but yeah, we'll try to get to that as soon as we can. Next is just I mentioned a hello from Vincent Albert. So hello to you, Vincent.
Hello, Vincent.
And we've got Hash. You mentioned I also had the same issue with ADA, but I connected the hardware wallet to Eternal Wallet, and then the balance showed correctly. That is another way to double check, especially if there is a synchronization issue on our end. We can actually use third-party wallets to actually double check, because there are a couple. You can use Yoroi to Nami. Eternal is definitely something that I've used to, and all of these actually don't need you to connect your hardware wallet connect your input your recovery phrase. So you can just connect the hardware wallet and make sure that you don't put your recovery phrase anywhere that is digital. So that is a really big feature for all of these third-party wallets. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay, and then we've got Pauline Bowen. Something is wrong with Ledger Live. Whenever I plug in my Ledger device and go into my Ledger, I'm getting an error that device disconnected. What is that? Latest version 254. And I have to say this error looks very familiar, but I do not remember the troubleshooting for this. It might be that the device might be changed, but Felix, do you know more about this one?
For 254, when you just plug in that the device is disconnected, I don't have anything in any additional things in particular. I mean, first thing would be just trying to isolate the issue personally. If I'd come across this initially, it'd be testing with another cable, testing with other ports, and I would suspect that they would, if they are all the same, getting the same issue, then we might move on to potentially even another computer as well, just to double check if it's an instance of the Ledger Live or what it might be. Worst case scenario, it is an issue with the Ledger device itself or a bug. So those are the two worst case scenarios. But
Yeah.
if we are able to isolate it there, then we can go ahead and try to fix it up from there.
I'd be curious as well, Pauline, if you are getting like an error message in Ledger Live as well. Does anything appear in Ledger Live, or is it just the device not making the connection? It's just dropping somehow. That could help us like isolate the issue. So yeah, please do give us like a little more information so we can follow up.
Right, looks like Gary's actually provided the case number, so I'll pick that up straight afterwards and just messaging that to myself. But we'll go with the next one. We just a couple of hellos from Razvan and Mustafa. So hello. And Razvan, you've actually mentioned any updates with Solana syncing in Ledger Live. My account hasn't been updated for almost a month now. I would definitely want to double check first, actually, with Solana syncing if the version of your Ledger Live is up to date. If not, then there would be normal general troubleshooting that I test is clearing the cache on that one, and just to make sure, because I don't think that there are any ongoing issues with Solana syncing across the board at the moment. So that is definitely something to double check, especially just in terms of general networking conditions as well.
That's a big
Especially,
one. Yeah.
if you're, so I think one thing maybe is not thought about as much is, if you're using like a work network, and a lot of times work networks or, cafe Wi-Fi is really similar. They'll have a lot of places where they'll block traffic and things like that. So something to keep in mind for that one, Razvan. Definitely give that a try. Lots of different network connections potentially, just to see if we can pinpoint what the issue might be. But definitely should be working, at least on our end, at least on my end in particular. So definitely let us know if that's happening, let's say across multiple networks and multiple computers. It might be a specific issue.
Whenever I see a Solana issue, I'm always worried that the network has gone down, like it does, unfortunately, quite often. And but yeah, I don't think there's been like a global outage, at least not yet. But there was one like in what was that, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's it. I think that's kind of the nature of what the trade-offs that they wanted to have, right? And so it's it's up to everyone to decide on their own what they find most important. But I definitely think they have some interesting technological
Yeah.
things. So, but
I agree.
lots of outages. It's tough, but at least if your assets are safe, your assets are safe. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next, we have Hash. They mentioned that they connected to MetaMask. They managed with the Ledger Nano X to a fake website. They realized it was fake, and you disconnected without doing any transactions. Can the website steal your assets? As long as if you haven't signed any messages and you haven't signed any transactions, generally speaking, no. I was just thinking about that in particular because sometimes when you do sign into a website, you do have to sign a message. It's like, hey, I think Paris, I think it was 1inch that has like a sign message when you're signing in, and there's a couple of other websites that you actually have to sign a specific message as well. So sometimes that could be the case, but if you haven't signed any of those and it's just to have the website see your wallet address, generally speaking, no, they shouldn't be able to steal your assets, especially if you don't already have pre-existing approvals to them or anything like that. The reason that we might take messages into account is if you have like approvals, let's say on OpenSea, for a collection of assets, for example, and you can list assets by signing a message. So that is one thing to consider. But generally speaking, if you just showed the website your address, shouldn't be an issue there. Generally speaking.
All right. Okay. So next we've got Anakin. So hi. RON Romanian leu currency is broken, not displaying anything. Please fix. I thought it was a token for a second, but I'm guessing he's actually talking about the fiat currency here.
Yeah,
So that might be broken. Yeah. Okay. So it's the actual currency. Okay. I guess we'll escalate this kind of issue to the developers so they can fix it. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. Anakin, you can probably wait for the next. We don't know exactly when the bug will be fixed. It might be. We'll try to fix it in the next version of Ledger Live. The best thing you can do right now is change to a currency that is not broken, and also wait for a future version of Ledger Live, which will fix the issue. And apology for that.
All right. Next question is here from Pranay. You've mentioned, hi, you have a Ledger Nano and a new Ledger Nano X. What's the best way to transfer everything? So generally speaking, you might not even need to transfer the assets at all. You can get the recovery phrase that you got from the original Ledger Nano. It's going to be like 24 words. That came directly from the device, and then you can actually input that into the Ledger Nano X. Normally, instead of selecting set up as a new device, you can select restore from an existing recovery phrase. And that way, you'll be able to say, hey, the Ledger Nano X is now going to look in deterministically look for the specific private keys, and you'll have access to the same addresses. There are instances, of course, that let's say you've lost the recovery phrase, but you still have access to the PIN and the device. You might just want to actually set up as a new device and then send those assets over. But that's generally on the more edge case side, and you should just be able to put in the recovery phrase there. So hopefully that is the only thing that you need to do, and it'll be nice and easy for you. You don't even need to re-add your accounts in Ledger Live as well, just as a heads up. So.
All right. Next, we've got Diego Rocha. Hi, Ledger. When will MetaMask Mobile work with Ledger Nano X? And the answer is we don't know, and we are waiting as well for this integration to drop. Much anticipated. I know it's frustrating, guys. Like, we've also been waiting a long time for it. I hear rumors that it might be ready to launch, but at the same time, we've been talking about it and saying it's coming soon for a long time. So can't really make any promises. I know the project is still ongoing, so it's not something that has been shelved or anything. It's going to happen at some time. At some point. When, difficult to say. But what you can do is just follow us on Twitter at ledger_support, and we'll make sure to let everybody know when that's live.
All right. And next question we've got from Sick Blowfish, and they've mentioned that they didn't get a referral on Valentine's, that you did a referral and you didn't get that in particular. There is actually that is something you can get a hold of us for. You can raise a ticket, support.ledger.com, and we should be able to have a look into that for you normally. There might be some more details that you wouldn't want to share in a public realm that we don't want to get from you, just to double check everything there, Sick Bluefish. So get a hold of us on the bottom right-hand side, and we'll have a chat with you from there, see if we can get that sorted for you.
All right. We've got a French shout out from Service Client Domain 3D. Bonjour. Yeah, bonjour. Next, we've got Anthony Blair. If you give out your keys, your recovery phrase, and your tokens are stolen, but you change your keys, can I keep my Ledger Nano, or do I need to get a new one? That's a great question, Anthony. The answer is you can keep your Nano. Just make sure that you completely reset the Nano, create a new recovery phrase. You might want also to do the same thing in Ledger Live. So you want to remove all the accounts in Ledger Live that are compromised, so you start fresh. You can also get rid of the old recovery phrase. So yeah, it's perfectly safe. Only the recovery phrase, so the private keys that were compromised are compromised. but new accounts with secured by new recovery phrase with the same nano device will be safe.
Let's keep going. I just had a quick scroll down, and they did mention that XRP Dave, we actually didn't miss a question. I actually don't see that above at all, actually. So just a heads up, if you have any like special characters, maybe like a URL, something like that, it might be affecting our ability to see the message. Just as a heads up. Just wanted to mention that for you because we're not trying to skip everything over. We're trying to get everything as best as we can. But yeah, can't see that actually. So if you can retype it, we'll try to answer that for you going forward. I think next one was from Pauline because we do have Gary with the case number. Pauline, you mentioned that it's not the device and you're able to connect to Stellar Term, which I know is a third-party service. And it's okay there. Yeah, it's definitely something we want to. I'm not sure if you actually already have a case number with us at the moment, Pauline. It might be something I can either assign to myself or see how we go from there, because it's definitely something. If you are pretty sure, if you've done the troubleshooting and you're sure that's with the device itself, we can definitely have a look at that. We'll try to get you sorted with that one for sure.
Cool. All right. Next. Oh, sorry, Felix. Did you want to add something?
No, I
Sorry,
was
cut you
actually
off
about
there.
to take the next question, but yeah.
So yeah, the next question is Anthony again. So asking, do I need ETH in my ledger to transfer out all the crypto, even if it's not an Ethereum account? Because my ledger say you won't let them transfer from a Binance Smart Chain account, stating I don't have enough ETH. It sounds to me like probably a display issue here, like a display bug in Ledger Live. So if your tokens are in a Binance Smart Chain account, you need BNB coins to pay for the transaction fee for that transaction. If it's in an Ethereum account, you need ETH and so on and so forth. If you're seeing this error message, but the account is Binance Smart Chain and it's asking you for ETH, that's probably a display issue. Just ignore it. Make sure you've got BNB in the account and do the transaction, and you should be good.
All right. So next question, follow up from Razvan. You mentioned that you can't add an account. So that's something that is a bit different than what I might have expected for, because I did scroll up in terms of a synchronization issue. So not sure if it's if you're actually getting the fact that you can't sync there. In particular, if you can't add the account entirely, there's two things that I'd first consider. If you're getting an error message, so wrong private keys for account, no, not wrong private keys for account, but like if you add an account and it's just a zero and you're expecting some balance in there, that might be something that I think of first that's potentially happening. But if you can't add the account at all and it's not loading at all or anything like that, you mentioned it's up to date, might be something to get a hold of us. Normally what we can actually do is actually get logs. Essentially, they have all the back-end things of like what Ledger Live is trying to do, and if they're getting any error messages back that you might not necessarily see on the front end. And using that, we can try and replicate the issue on our end. So it doesn't have any private keys or anything like that, of course, but it's just there for us to try to see if we can do the issue on our end. If you do manage to raise a case like within what is it, in the next like 40-ish minutes, you can pop that into the chat, Razvan. I'll actually grab that and we'll pick it up and we'll have a look at that for you. We'll try to test it on our end, see if we can get the same kinds of messages and see if we go from there.
Cool. Next, we've got Alex Hybert. Does Ledger have any ability to actually talk to their clients? So like phone support, I'm guessing. I've tried to solve my issue with the texting. Assuming you mean sending an email here, hopefully like you didn't receive a text from Ledger, that would be a scam, definitely a red flag. Same for a DM on social media, that would also be a scam, so just be careful here. The only way we communicate with people is via those AMAs. On Twitter, we've got AMAs as well, and also we have live chat and email. But if you got an actual text message, that might be a scam, so be careful, Alex. I feel like I could just talk to someone if it's so. Alex, what you can do is you can just explain your issue in the chat, and we might be able to solve it just on the air. If you have a ticket number, then just post the ticket number in the chat. as Felix was saying a second ago, we'll pick up the ticket, or I'll assign it to myself, and I'll get back to you after the chat, or like tomorrow morning.
All right. Just one thing. I did see the ticket that you put in, Pauline. I'm going to look for it now, but it does seem a bit short. But I'm just going to make sure. But I'll get to answering the next question wherever we're up to.
Mustafa, I think.
Mustafa, yes, hi. I have the same problem with the transfer of Cardano from Ledger to Binance. It is still pending. You tried to input the transaction number, it wouldn't be something that we'd be able to see. I think what's important here is the fact that when you make a transaction with potentially a lower transaction fee, it can take a longer time to go through. I am not aware of any, because Cardano uses EUTXO method. I don't actually know of any way to actually replace my fee for Cardano, or to drop a way to drop the transaction. I had to double check this kind of recently, within last week. It might need to be waiting for that transaction to go through in particular. I don't know if you have any idea about any way to drop that transaction, other than, because there isn't a way in Ledger Live, but I did try to check in like Eternal and Nami recently. I don't remember there being one. I'm not sure if you have one off the top of your head either. I think they just have to wait for that to go through, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, and then next we've got L. Miller. I now have a red trash can next to the Ethereum and XRP. I'm not exactly sure what you mean here. Maybe you are in the My Ledger section, or like using the mobile app and you're trying to. It's probably you are in the mobile app in the My Ledger section, and you're trying to. What you're seeing is the option to remove the app from the device. I think that's that. Felix, do you have any idea here? I'm a little confused.
Red bin, yes, would be My Ledger for apps. The only other thing I can think of is if they're trying to remove, like if they're on the advanced side of the accounts and there's a remove from portfolio. But those are the only two ones that I can actually think of in particular. It could also, now this is a bit more of an edge case as well, it could also be a fraudulent web app or something like that. So just something to keep in mind. But generally, yeah, those are the only two places I remember them being.
Okay. Yeah. Very good point. Anthony is back and asking us to list Chim's Inu Binance Smart Chain. Okay. Anthony, yes, we will escalate that and send a request to the developer on your behalf. So hopefully that can be added to a future version of Ledger Live. Maybe not the next one, because we have a huge backlog of requests of integrating tokens, but a future version. The best thing you can do for now, just make sure to keep Ledger Live up to date so you always get the latest list.
Right. So a couple things. Sick Blowfish, no, thank you. No, I won't read that out because I'm trying to remain humble and don't want to blow up my ego too much. Anakin, you've mentioned. Okay, also check other fiat currencies as well, and there were a few random ones that were experiencing the same issues. So I'll actually go through and we'll actually try to check a couple of them as well, just to make sure we have all of the ones that are affected. So thank you for giving us the heads up about that one, Anakin, and we'll go from there. Ruslan, you mentioned, hi guys, maybe one day it will be possible to keep our Luncy directly in Ledger without Terra Station. So just to keep in mind, you don't necessarily need, you can actually store it with the Ledger Manager address already. I'm sure that's what you might be doing at the moment. The reason I want to make that distinction is because Terra Station is just going to be another type of front end that you might use in the same vein as Ledger Live, right? So when you're managing your assets, you should be, as seems like you've been doing, you can use Terra Station. I wouldn't be able to give a time frame if that would be something that would be done soon or whatever it might be, but definitely will pass on the feedback. With regards to Terra Station, no reason not to use it. No reason for it not to be safe if you're connecting your hardware wallet as opposed to importing your recovery phrase, which we would never advise to do. So hopefully that's what you're doing.
Next, we've got Melissa asking about an update for a Monero integration in Ledger Live. I'm afraid I don't have any updates on my side. I know that the integration into Ledger Live is actually pretty complicated with Monero. I don't even know if it's doable right now. So definitely something that's not gonna happen very soon. It's pretty much on the back burner right now. Felix, I don't know if you have any updates on your side, but
No. I just to know that it isn't too much of an issue to actually go about and use it with Monero GUI. It's not too complex, I find. So hopefully, if you are having issues, we can always try to help. Especially because if you're just connecting your Ledger device with Monero GUI and things like that, no reason why we wouldn't be able to help you with that one. So definitely give us a shout out if you need, but totally understand why you'd want to use it within Ledger Live. Just, yeah, like Dan mentioned, it is Monero and these coins that have a lot of obfuscation can be quite difficult to integrate.
all right. I think we're gonna have to pick up the pace a little bit because I can see
Of
tons of
course.
question in the chat.
All right. So I see XRP Dave's question down below, so I want to get to that in a second. But Nudes, you mentioned when will you allow staking of Cardano natively inside Ledger Live? I don't know if you want to answer that one. No,
Soon. There is
soon.
no hard. Yeah, soon. We
I
don't have
think,
an ETA. Yeah.
but it's the type of thing that we'll definitely pass on. I always forget that which ones have been integrated, if I'm honest, because there are managing staking everything outside of Ledger Live is totally fine as well. Just so you guys are aware,
Yeah.
as long as you're not importing anything, you're all good. So next one is Sick Blowfish. Thanks for answering. No, thanks for asking the question. Smiyu mentioned, is it possible work for Ledger? You're looking for an apprenticeship in Paris? It is indeed. You can go to the careers at the bottom in ledger.com and we'll be able to help you with that one as well. Now, I may as well. We got Helga down below, but I wanted to answer Dave's question now. I can see a little bit of a gap here. XRP Dave, I was a victim of ID fraud of what happened in 2020. So that's a Shopify thing that happened. Is there anything you can do to assure me it will not happen again? I never got an apology because I've been through a lot the last few years. I can definitely say, like, I can offer you an apology as well. I know that's not necessarily what you're directly asking for, but in terms of assuring it will not happen again, I think just I don't know if it's been published yet, but there are things that we're trying to do to try and pursue the ones that would be responsible for this type of hack. I think additionally as well, it's the kind of thing that we would have learned from in terms of security, and it's definitely not something that would be happening again. As far as especially I would be concerned, I know that there will be people that would be here for a lot longer that would also be able to attest to that learning experience and also making sure the procedures are in place to make sure this kind of thing would never happen again. In particular, I'm not sure if they also mentioned, is there anything you can do for victims? That you'd lost a lot of trust and you had messages from bogus companies set up in your own name as a result of this. It has been hard. And, I can't imagine what you'd be feeling in particular with that as well, 100%. Yeah, go on, sorry.
No. That was all said. So yeah, the company learned from that experience, most definitely. But yeah, Dave, apologies from us. Yeah, again, like as Felix said, like this is not what you expect probably, but if we can do our part on behalf of the company here, then we would extend an apology to you. And don't hesitate to ask us any question. Like if you want to make sure that your security is okay, then that's what we're here for. We're here to communicate with the community. So just yeah, we're here to help you, mate. So yeah, don't hesitate. Helga had a question. She's new, or he or she is new to cold wallets. What is the difference between Taproot and Segwit for Bitcoin? I have BTC in Segwit, but should have also have it in Taproot. It's totally up to you. Taproot is just the latest account type that has been supported on the Bitcoin network. There is no real difference as for now between the Taproot account and a Bitcoin Segwit account. So you can keep your BTC in either account. It doesn't really matter. If you have ordinals, so NFT on Bitcoin, then you want to put them into a Taproot account. Yeah.
Right. Mattia mentions cheers from the HBAR community, knowing that we can't let you know when we would support HBAR staking, but to let us know that's something that you guys are waiting for. So 100% we'll pass that on. I think we always mention that as well. L. Miller, Jesus the Redeemer, you mentioned, why do I have a red trash cans? I think you mentioned that before. So I think this, again, the two places that I'd be thinking about would be the My Ledger portion, or would be potentially in the remove the advanced section for the accounts. Just a couple of things I can think of. Or edge case, it could potentially be a fraudulent app. So just a couple of things to keep in mind, especially if it asks you for a recovery phrase. Just to head.
Yeah.
Yes, don't share it. Sorry. I can see that, L. Miller, you've actually got the what is it called? The case number as well. So we'll have a look at that for you. I'll just send that to myself as well. But next question, Pauline, I just want to reiterate, I don't know if you've actually shared the full case number, because that case number wasn't coming up with what seemed to be the issues that you were seeing. So it might be missing a number there. Normally it would be around 6 digits at this stage, just so you're aware.
Okay. And next we've got Bill 33. Can't open a Songbird account in Ledger. Says can't detect the network error. Yeah, that's a non-issue, Bill. Basically, the Songbird node on our side is out of sync, so you cannot use Songbirds for now. You'll have to use MetaMask in your Ledger device. It's also perfectly safe. I know it's inconvenient. That should be fixed in the next version of Ledger Live as well, so make sure to update whenever that version is released. That should be 2.55 or something like that. Yeah, but again, MetaMask, perfectly safe. You can use it with the Ethereum app on the device.
All right. Next, we've got Sergio. Just hello. Sorry, hello, Sergio. Next would be Blast, though. While the desktop app is running, is there any way for another app to read anything? If you mean on the device itself, that would be no, in terms of if you're thinking about the recovery phrase, anything secure like that. Generally speaking, because you're using a specific channel to communicate with the Ledger device, there is a reason why we normally ask you to either close the Ledger Live if you're running MetaMask or something similar like that. So there can be issues in terms of running Ledger Live when you're using a third-party wallet, for example. So that's something that I would be thinking of. But if you're thinking about any of the secure part of the secure element, then no, there's no reason that anyone will be able to get any information, private information, especially from the Ledger device itself. Yeah. Next.
Miller is back, so give us their case number. So we got your tickets. No worries, we'll get back to you after the DMA or tomorrow morning, because it's almost the end of our shift here in France. Worst come to us, we'll get back to you tomorrow morning. Yep.
All right, same with Alex Hebert as well. So that, I think, that is mentioned you in particular, but we've got Tomo here. Can you set up users of Ledger to get a pop-up window notifier about the total value of a Ledger account? I would like to be notified when my Ledger Nano X reaches XY amount of USD. I think that would be something I can pass on in terms of feedback for sure. With regards, especially because there would be a lot of potential UX issues, I imagine. It's like, what price oracle do you use for USD value? Also, it'll be I think there are third-party services that potentially have that as well. That you don't need to input any private information, just the address. So there are workarounds potentially, just to see if you can use something in the meantime. But yeah, we'll definitely pass on that feedback. It's not something that we'd have at the moment. Especially, I would feel very worried privacy-wise. So, but we'll definitely pass on that feedback. All right. Pauline also mentions that they're having the same Songbird error as Bill 33. But yes, okay. I'll have a look at that, Pauline, because I see you mentioned that's the ticket number sent in the to your email address. But I'll try to have a look at that for you. We'll have as much information as we can, and we'll go from there. No worries at all.
All right. Next, we've got nudes. Nude. Okay. Nude deep, maybe, perhaps. Any update on supporting Ergo in Ledger Live? I don't think we have any particular updates. However, so it's still not supported as far as I know. However, if you are close to the Ergo team, what you can do is send them over to our Discord channel. That's the place where our developers and external developers chat and centralize like the communication around integrating new apps into Ledger. So definitely check that out. That would be Ledger Open. That's the name of the Discord. Open is spelled with a 3 instead of an E. So please do send them over, and you can also join the Discord yourself if you want to talk to us over there and have direct access to developers as well.
All right. Apple mentions, are we able to buy and sell crypto directly without going through an exchange? Indeed, you can. You could do that with P2P, but that's obviously the one that would be the biggest issue. It also depends on what you're buying with. So if you're buying with a card, generally it'd be a lot harder to not go through some kind of centralized entity. But without an exchange, there are definitely options in the buy section as well. These are centralized options, but this is kind of part and parcel when you're using some kind of TradFi instrument like a credit card or a debit card. But yes, there are options without an exchange. P2P is probably the best one that I'd think of, as well as if you're buying with USDT or USDC, for example, you can go through a DEX like Uniswap, 1inch Paraswap. 1inch Paraswap definitely within Discover section as well, just so you guys know. And yeah, those would be other ways that you can buy. Just depends on what you're buying with as well.
Yeah, definitely. 1inch Paraswap would definitely recommend if you guys are trying to swap USDC out of like a different currency on the same network. So if you're trying to swap USDC to, I don't know, ETH, for example, or USDT, then Paraswap definitely the best option rather than Changely, because Changely has a different different terms and conditions, and it's not a DEX, whereas Paraswap is a DEX, and the liquidity might also be better, I think. But again, like, just please be careful before you accept a swap. Always verify the transaction details on your device just to make sure you accept the quote, because in times like these where the market is scared and people are trying to swap in and out of the same cryptocurrency, then you might experience a lot of slippage and also like a lot of transaction fees because a lot of people are trying to do the same thing as you do. So make sure that you are okay with the transaction details before you swap. Just a warning here. Also wanted to pick up Al Meller saying that he's reset his Nano and he thought he downloaded the wrong software. As Felix was saying, so you might be be careful if it's a fake app that will try to steal a recovery phrase. Definitely don't type it. But if you're seeing something like that, then that is normal. This is Ledger Live mobile, and you are actually in the My Ledger section here. You can just go back to the dashboard and just try to pair the device again, or you can be in the My Ledger section and pair the device again with this button, and you should be good. If that's what you're seeing in Ledger Live, then you're good. That's the genuine app.
Okay, next question. I was just doing some double checking. Alexander Bondi, you mentioned, hello, what about the DYDX synchronization error? I am not sure. I had to double check. I checked the status on DYDX's website and didn't see anything in particular as well. You might be talking maybe about the fact that it's token. So the ERC20 token might not be visible potentially or something like that. Maybe if we can get some more details. But I do, since I actually subscribed to DYDX's status page mailing list, and I did see some issues, but that wouldn't be related to us. So if it is about the ERC20 token, just if you could give us a heads up about that, let us know, and we can definitely double check that for you. I know that there's a couple of mentions down below about ERC20 tokens appearing and having some issues. As long as you can see them in your like in a block explorer, Etherscan, something like that, generally speaking, you'll be all good. It's just about potentially raising that to us, and we definitely already have a case open about ERC20 tokens. So just to address the concerns straight away as well.
All right, next we've got Cas Bundy. Very interesting question. Can you explain why BIP39 list is unique and cannot be hacked or something? Yeah, that's a great question. I really like it. So basically, the words on the list are known and public, of course, because the list is on GitHub, and those are the words that can ever, that will be in your recovery phrase. But because there are 2,048 words on the list, and your device will randomly pick 24 words out of this list, the total number of possible combinations of all these different words is so big that basically that guarantees that no one will have the same recovery phrase as you do. That would be very bad. That would be called a collision. But our business as Ledger is to create devices that are actually very good at creating random private keys, and that's the reason why a Ledger device will never create a collision, just because the total sample of possible combinations of private keys is so big that the possibility that me and Felix, for example, would get the same recovery phrase of me and you is so small that it will basically never happen.
Okay, Eric's Place 100, you've mentioned what are the hardware requirements needed to run Ledger Live regarding security, as I need to update your device. You can run Ledger Live on an Android phone. I just needed to double check for mobile. You should be running 8.1 or later. Generally, latest is always best. iOS 13 if you're running iOS, but you can't actually update with iOS. So if you're running desktop, so Mac OS, you should be running 10.14. Generally speaking, in terms of hardware, it's just about making sure you have a relatively new computer. There shouldn't be any. That would just be regards to performance, so not in regards to security. It's just making sure all the software is relatively up to date, and you should be okay. None of the hardware generally shouldn't be affect you too much in terms of security. As long as you're able to run Ledger Live with some kind of performance, relative performance, you should be okay as well. If you have any more questions about the hardware requirements, though, if maybe you can list what hardware requirements you're expecting to run off, we can probably double check that for you as well.
Cool. Tomacha, when Ledger on mobile MetaMask, we don't really know. The project is still ongoing, that's for sure. But as far as ETA, we are also waiting for it with impatience. So please follow us on Twitter if you want to have updates. But for now, we don't have an ETA to announce, unfortunately.
All right. So, Anthony, you've mentioned that it's taking insufficient ETH for network fee when trying to transfer our baby Doge BSC. Just to double check, it depends on which network you're sending it on. So most likely, if you're sending on BSC, it definitely sounds like a display issue. So you just need BNB in particular. But because I'm not directly familiar with this one, if it is a token, if Baby Doge is just a token on ETH, then we would need ETH. But if you are sending it on BSC and it's saying ETH, it's definitely a display issue, and we'll try to get that fixed up ASAP. But it'll just be that if you're sending on BSC, you'll need BNB. And same for Ethereum, you'll need ETH.
Next, we've got Sergio. Would it be possible to have a recipient address from our accounts, like a drop down from debit, for when sending within the Ledger account? I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Sergio. Here, Felix, do you have any ideas?
To have a recipient address from our accounts, like a drop down from debit. I'm just trying to form to send within. I think
like an address book.
I think it's maybe if you're sending between your ledger addresses, that's the best thing I can think of.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Like banks would do that, right? They'll have like a fast transfer option where they just change something on the ledger. But that would work differently for a blockchain transaction because each account is independent. Although it looks like it's within the same Ledger Live instance, but in fact, like each account is independent, so they wouldn't be like a fast transfer option this way.
Exactly. So in this case, it could be something that they could consider, but I would suspect that there would be, yeah, a lot of things that they'd be trying to think about. Oh, and just as a heads up, I think we do have an issue with there's a status on our status.ledger.com. If you guys are always any aware, there is a way to keep track of any outages. There might be some issues with the blockchain data that just came out as a notification just then for us. So just so you guys are aware, you can always get a hold of us if you needed help. Using any third-party wallets to work around it just for now, but it is something that I just spotted just as a heads up for you as well, Dan. I'll keep answering questions as well, Pauline. I did manage to grab your case number, so I'll definitely have a look at that as soon as I can. Um, Auto chaining man, you've mentioned, are we working on getting any new coins listed on Ledger? And we always are. If you have coins that you want to get listed, you can always go to our developer portal. There is a way that you can actually submit them if you're a developer, or else you can get a hold of us and we can submit that on your behalf as well, because it does require that you get the contract address, things like that as well. So um, definitely something we're always working to do, trying to integrate as many tokens or coins as possible. Coins, cryptocurrencies in general are a bit harder. So, like, if they're their own L1, they have their own specific curves, API calls, or whatever it might be. It is a lot different. And so normally we invite those developers to work with us, like you mentioned on our Discord, to see if we can give you a hand in terms of getting integrated into Ledger Live or with a Ledger app. It can take some time, I will be frank, but it is something that way that you guys can work on. And then in the meantime, you can potentially even have like a web wallet to work with while you're using the Ledger app. So you're still secured by the Ledger device, but you're using a web wallet while still getting that integrated into Ledger Live.
Okay. Next, we've got a couple shout outs from Milkman and Dave. Yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate you as well. Then we've got Miller. So L Miller, if you have a ticket number, like please like drop that ticket number in the chat so we can take a look. I don't know if you have already, but it will just let do nothing for now. Just wait for our email, and we'll take a look at what's going on and let you know if it's safe or not to interact with the app. Just to make sure there is nothing fishy here. So just wait for us.
I think, yeah, he did indeed drop that one. So we'd already have that with us.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be able to have a chat from there. Next
Hope gone.
was Hope gone. Yeah. You're planning a trip to Russia. Will my ledger work there? I'm not sure if we answered this one last time as well. I think it was, generally speaking, if you are having any issues, then you might need to troubleshoot the networking specifically. That's generally what I expect. But there's no reason why the Ledger device itself isn't going to work, because it's not that part that's going to be interacting with the wider internet. It's going to be Ledger Live in particular. And if you're getting any issues with Ledger Live, it might be about doing some networking troubleshooting there. So whether or not it's a different type of networking network, so like Wi-Fi, if you're using what is the word, hotspot on your phone, if you need to use a VPN without a VPN, if you're going to use some kind of other kind of obfuscation there, that's all about just making sure to isolate the issue there. So generally speaking, yes, but if you have any issues, you might need to do some troubleshooting for that one in particular.
Awesome. Next, we've got Milkman. So on Reddit, some people are writing that there are ERC20 tokens that are not being showed. I have the same problem. So ERC20 tokens not displaying in Ledger Live. Is this a bug? And yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends. Like, it might be a sync issue. on Ledger Live. Sometimes that's fixed by just updating Ledger Live to the latest version and then clearing the cache. So that might help, but we did have some issue in the past where some tokens will not show even though you were on the latest version. In this case, if you have a ticket number, please do let us know the ticket number. We can pick that up and get back to you, or you can just let us know like the tickers of the tokens that are not showing in Ledger Live, so we can escalate that internally. In the meantime, you might want to use something like MetaMask in your Ledger device just to be able to have access to those tokens, and you can keep managing those balances. But yeah, get in touch if you haven't done it already, so we can take a closer look.
All right. Yeah, I was just going to mention. I think we do have a case open for, because it is quite hard for us to reproduce. Some ERC20 tokens are appearing, some are not. So definitely something we're looking at. And if you guys have any of those case numbers already opened up, then definitely drop them in the chat, because I'd want to pick those up. I can aggregate them all together, and I can actually go about and try to see if we can replicate that on our end. So just as a heads up for all of you guys. Milkman, you mentioned you have a reference number but no ticket number. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, a reference number. If you drop the reference number in chat, probably it's a 6-digit number. That would be the ticket number we're thinking of, just as a heads up. But yeah, definitely something we're looking into. Next, we had, I wanted to answer this question. L. Miller, you mentioned the bootloader. I don't know about the other numbers because I don't come across those as often, but secure element 110 is definitely should be okay for the Legend NOS Plus, if I remember correctly. So that is something that is up to the latest one for Legend NOS Plus, if that's what you have. There you go.
There you go, that's the one.
Alexander Bundy, I did want to answer your question though, that you're not able to transfer DUSDT on DYDX. I would definitely contact DYDX about this one, because if it sounds like you're trying to manage USDT on the platform DYDX. If that's the case, not a lot that we'd be able to help with, unless it's an issue with like when you're signing the transaction or something along those lines. Maybe it has to do with blind signing. That would be another thing that comes to mind. But definitely not a lot we can do with DYDX in particular.
Yeah. Next, we've got Shetan Ambi. Can you please add support to generate Ethereum validator keys officially through Ledger Live, or let us know if it's planned at least? So it's not planned the way you're phrasing it, but like there is already a app in Ledger Live which you can access via the Discover section. It's called Killin. So Killin is a third-party service provider that will help you set up a validator and take care of all the IT backend for you. So you'll just receive the rewards, but of course they'll take a commission because they're taking care of the infrastructure for you. So that's one way to stake. Another way would be to use something like Lido, which is also in Ledger Live. Then you give your ETH to Lido. Lido will stake it for you and give you back STETH in return. That's also a good way to generate passive income, because as long as you hold STETH, that balance will go up with time to reflect staking rewards. Another integration that's in the pipe that I'm very, very excited for would be Rocket Pool as well. Eventually that would be in Ledger Live as well. Rocket Pool is great because you can use it like Lido, where you stake and you get like RETH in return that represents ETH plus staking rewards. But you can also use Rocket Pool to stake on mini pools, and mini pools are a way to sort of socialize staking with other people. So you don't need 32 ETH, but you can contribute like something like 8 ETH, for example, to operate your mini pool, and then more people will join the mini pool and add their ETH until you guys represent 32 ETH, and then you'll be able to stake together and share the rewards. So that's something else to look forward to. But right now I would suggest, Killin if you have 32 ETH, or Lido in Ledger Live, or you go hardcore and you set up your own node. We don't have documentation for this. I can probably help you because I've done it before. So send us a ticket and ask me specifically on the tickets, but that's going to be some heavy lifting if you've never done this before. So yeah, just warning you here.
Might have to do a little bit of a quick fire round. Milkman, I just was skimming through the things that you've mentioned. Definitely get a hold of us. if you haven't already, dropped that in the chat. I'll try to have a chat with you as quickly as we can. Doesn't sound like it'd be something we can do straight over the over chat here. We'll try to have a chat with you. Just ask for me or Dan, and we'll have it. We'll try to give you a hand from there. We will definitely fix bugs with relation to ERC20 tokens maybe not appearing. If you're talking about, I see you've mentioned ETC 20 tokens. If you're talking about Ethereum Classic tokens, not something that I am aware will appear in Ledger Live, but you can always manage that with an EVM wallet like MetaMask, Rabi, or Tallyho. I know not Tallyho, but MetaMask is generally the one that I would be thinking of in particular. Other than that, how to get a notification from Ledger Live app. That was from Hash when receiving a transaction. Not something that you can do at the moment, but we'll definitely pass on the feedback. It does have a lot of infrastructure issues and privacy issues that would be related to that as well. And Eagle, you mentioned you can't see your deposit USDC. You can see it in Etherscan. All is updated. Drop the ticket number in the chat. We definitely want to have a look at that. I'll assign it to myself right after this, and we'll try to get a hold of you ASAP about what might be happening there. Definitely, especially if you have the address there, we can have a look at that for you as well.
Well, very efficient. Yeah, what else do we have here? I think Anthony is just following up on the Binance Smart Chain baby Doge, I think. Anthony, definitely drop your ticket number so we can take a look. We need to have a look at the account, see what's going on here, just to orient you on the next step. And then we've got a proud Serbian. I opened a ledger, but all my ETC20 are gone. Why? It might be because you share your 24-hour recovery phrase with a scammer that might have got access to your accounts that way. That's big danger. Again, please get a hold of us. Support.ledger.com. Open a ticket and share the ticket in the comments once the video goes live on YouTube, so we can follow up with you and take a look at what happened. If you have funds still in your ledger, then I would recommend that you send the rest of the funds back to an exchange or like a safe account, just in case your accounts were compromised, just not to take any more risk. Yeah.
Right. I think that's about it. I think the last one was from Zane about staking directly, and it wouldn't be something that we'd be able to give any time frame for. But yes, we'll make sure to pass on that feedback as well.
Yeah, and just to finish up on Milkman, so don't type your email here, I think, unless that's a completely burner email that you have. If not, you can just reach out to us at support.ledger.com. And once this video gets listed on the YouTube channel, you just drop your ticket number in the comments instead of in the chat so we can find it and we'll get back to you. That's a more private way to do things. Yep. All right, I think we're done.
All right, cool. Sorry about that, guys, but yeah, get a hold of us, or you can always mention either our names. We're always trying to answer as many tickets as we can, and we'll go from there. That way, we'll be able to answer you in a more detailed fashion. Cool.
Excellent. Thanks, Felix. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.